at TBM Service Group, and we're here to talk about the importance of International Women's Day. This year, the theme is Press for Progress. At TBM, we recognize the importance of a gender equality, gender inclusive environment, and in raising awareness and have positive visibility for women.
International Women's Day is important, and it's important to celebrate women's achievements, recognizing the achievements of women in any aspects of life, whether in sports, in politics, government, medicine, because it has a huge impact in developing girls and young women like myself. You know, it gives us the hope that we can do it, that we can achieve it, that we can be an influential force, that we can be a leader, that I can be a leader in society. And that's the importance of celebrating women and their achievements and their success.
Well, me, I see myself more as a role model from at work. My role model is my mom, and now I'm my daughter's role model. So at work, I try to do the same. I usually I don't put no difference between a man or a woman. We both can do the same job. If the man can do it, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that with my staff. So if I see that he's doing a job that I can do and I do it, sometimes he tells me, oh, this is a man's job. I look at him a lot of times, I tell him, no, it's not a man's job. There is no man's job.
Yeah.
So I put that into the staff, the ladies, the women. If the men can do it, we can do it. There's nothing that they can do that we can't.
There are still biases that are out there for certain roles that we want to engage in, or that we want to pick as our career path. There's still biases out there. So Lauren, I'll ask you, you're at TTC and you're a fueler. I'm sure there's a lot of biases and stereotypes that's come along with you being in that role. Can you share a little bit about your experience?
When I first wanted the job, it was going to be given to a male. And I was furious at that because I deserved it, and I wanted to prove to myself and to everyone that I can handle it, and it's not a man's job, and it's not a man's world anymore. And so I fought for it, and eventually I got it, and 2 years later,
Wow.
I'm a fueler.
Yeah, that's excellent, because I think you've set precedents to others that may be saying in their minds that, could I apply for that job, or could I do that job? When, now they can say, well, she's doing it, so I can do it too. So you've definitely made a difference in being the first to step forward for that in that industry, for sure.
In our culture and our society, there is a lot of a gray area. There is a lot of, I believe, conditioning from a society, from traditional point of view, from cultural point of view, and that tends to translate into our relatives. And then from there, it tends to also kind of overflow into the younger generation. So whatever they felt that they couldn't do, whatever they were told, or they were, they were conditioned into believing they couldn't do, whether it's intentional or not, it does kind of get translated into the younger generation. So growing up, there was some things that I had in mind as a career goal or whatnot, and my parents didn't necessarily support me that way. Don't listen to the background noise. Don't listen to what their perception is. It's what you want to do. Because at the end of the day, no one can stop you from achieving the things that you want to do. If you want to be an astronaut, then you need to believe in yourself and go for it. So that's what I try to do all the time.
This year's theme of Press for Progress is so important, to let our voices be heard, to let our actions be seen, and to create opportunities for ourselves. Because if we don't do it and we're waiting for someone else to say it's the right time, we can do it now, that may not happen. So we have to take charge and be the driver behind that wheel.
I think only men can work as a supervisor. So when I wanted to become a supervisor, the first time I was like, okay, let the man go, I'm not gonna go. So my manager Joshua was like, Omo, you have to go. Then I went home, I was like, okay, I want to become a social worker. If I don't push myself, so how am I gonna push all the women to achieve their goals if I don't push myself? So I went to the interview and I got the supervisor duty. you need to empower yourself, right?
Yeah.
You need to tell yourself that this thing, I'm gonna give it a try. Even if I fail, I'm still gonna continue doing it till I am on top.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go on top and come down. You have to go up and just keep climbing.
Well, I really believe in this, eh? As a male and as a manager, I really believe that a lot of our female staff, due to the cultural backgrounds, sometimes are kind of trained to try to keep and try not to be so visible, right? Probably they're trained not to outshine men, and that's a cultural thing. So therefore, I always try to create opportunities for the female staff to be visible, to try to encourage them to take the next step. And as a manager, whenever I see a woman with good qualities that could become a supervisor, that could become a lead hand, even a manager, I'll always kind of encourage them to be visible. Like for instance, in our account, I have 2 female supervisors. And they've been told by some of the male staff, you cannot be a supervisor because you cannot lift heavy weights. You cannot move a box from here to there. So whenever I talk to a female staff, I always tell them it's not a matter of being strong, but it's a matter of working smarter.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of killing yourself carrying a box, why don't you open up the box and deliver some supplies little by little, right?
Yeah.
Also, whenever I have to talk to some of the staff, from a manager to an attendant, I always invite the female supervisors to be with me at my right hand. And when I talk with them, with the staff, I always tell them that the role of the supervisor is like a manager's role. So therefore, the staff is getting used to seeing this face,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're used to seeing this supervisor as a leader and as a potential manager, and therefore those barriers are knocked down little by little.
Yeah.
So I found that very important, and it has paid out very good results in our account.
I've been in the working industry for about 22 years, and a large part of my career was working in corporate. And going through that, I would say the part that I remember the most, from my boss, as he was, I worked very closely with him. This was about 8 years ago. I worked very closely with him, formed a team, made a lot of changes, and him and I we made a difference in the department. And when it was time for him, he was leaving, and I was approached to take over his role. And I told him, I was like, oh, I'm so excited. They've offered me this role. And he said to me, now someone I've worked closely with for 6 years, he said to me, you are not me, and you cannot do what I do. Now those words were just, my eyes just went back, but you know what? Those words played a pivotal role in my career because it inspired me, it motivated me, and it provided a path for bigger and better things. Never did it cross my mind to say, I'm going to let his words defeat me. But what I said was, you're right, I'm not you, and I cannot do what you do, but I can make it my own, and I will make it my own. And from that point on, I was able to take on the job, manage people for the first time, and go forward and take on bigger roles after that. But I didn't let my obstacles and keeping me from a senior management position. There was a couple obstacles. There was my age difference, there was my gender difference, there was my race difference, and there was my work experience. But what I did was I channeled it into determination and courage. And you need courage at that time because that's where you're the most fearful. You're the most fearful because of the unknown. Can I really do this job? What if they don't like me? What if I don't succeed? And all these fears come into your mind. But that is the moment where your courage has to step up and say, if I don't try, then I'm not going to know.
In this year's International Women's Day to my mom who was recently passed away. Growing up, I realized how important of a role a woman plays in a home. Just watching my mom and how she has dedicated her life towards her family. There's a saying that the woman is a cornerstone of every family. I've seen that. Hard work from women is very important in family, and we want to dedicate this day to my mom.
Happy International Women's Day.